Okay, so imagine the scene. It's Friday night, 2026. You had a long week. You're sitting on your couch. Maybe you've poured a generous glass of wine, and you decide to dip your toe into the dating pool. You open Field,
Ah, field.
you know,
Yes.
the app with
Yeah.
the stark black and white aesthetic, the place for the curious, the open-minded.
The digital watering hole for the adventurous, basically.
Exactly. So you start swiping, and you swipe for, I don't know, 10 minutes, maybe 20. And slowly, this weird sense of déjà vu starts to set in. You notice a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a visual pattern. It's not like everyone is wearing the same hat. It's a linguistic one. Two specific words just popping up in bio after bio over and over again.
Let me guess. Pleasure dom.
It is everywhere. I mean, it feels like every single guy on the app, whether he's an accountant or a barista, has suddenly decided this is his job title.
Right.
And if you take it at face value, you think, wow, the dating pool is just overflowing with men who are deeply, selflessly invested in my satisfaction.
Which, if true, would sound like, well, a utopia.
It would. You'd think we'd solve the gender gap in satisfaction overnight. But according to this deep dive we're doing today, based on that viral Ryan Collison article,
From his Toxic Masculinity in 2026 series.
and that's one, according to him, that is, well, that is absolutely not what is happening.
No, in fact, Collison is pretty brutal about it. He describes the ratio of men claiming the title to men who actually get what it means as hilarious, depressing, and illuminating.
That's quite the trifecta of emotions for a 20-minute swipe session.
It really is. And that's our mission today. We aren't just here to, make fun of cringy bios. Though, let's be honest, we'll probably do a little of that.
A little bit.
We're unpacking a specific cultural moment, how BDSM terminology has been co-opted, especially on apps. We need to look at the massive gap between the costume, just wearing the label, and the competence actually doing the work.
Because these words have weight.
They have so much weight, and when powerful words travel without their ethical safety manuals attached, things get messy. And frankly, they get dangerous.
So let's start with that definition gap. Because I think the average guy on Field and a trained BDSM practitioner are using the same words, but, I mean, they're living in different universes.
Totally different universes.
So what does the Field Pleasure Dom think he is saying when he types that into his profile?
The article argues that for the vast majority of these men, pleasure dom is just a fancy, socially acceptable way of saying, I watched some high-production porn, I learned a cool vocabulary word, and I want to receive oral sex while feeling powerful.
So it's basically just a rebrand of selfishness.
In many cases, yes, they interpret dom as boss.
Yeah.
They think it means their pleasure is the priority, their whims are the law, and the pleasure part just means they enjoy it.
Right.
It's this virus of thought where dominance is just equated with permission to take, to demand, to center themselves.
Which is wild, because when you look at actual BDSM practice, and I mean the old school, community-vetted kind of pleasure dom, is something totally different. It's almost the opposite.
Completely. In a true dynamic, a pleasure dom is practicing service-oriented dominance.
Service-oriented dominance. That almost sounds contradictory, to the pop culture image of a guy in a suit with a riding crop.
It does, but that's the reality. The power exchange centers entirely on the submissive's pleasure. The dom takes control, yes, they strip away the sub's agency, but they do it specifically to overwhelm them with sensation, with attention, and with care. The focus is 100% on the other person.
So it's not about sitting back and being served like a king.
Not at all. It is active. It is laborious. Collison has this great line in the article, and it's a total burn. He says, if you can't use the word aftercare in a sentence, you are not a dom. You are just a guy with a profile.
Oof. That's a burn, but a necessary one. I want to talk about that labor aspect because I think that's where the fakes get filtered out. Real dominance sounds like a lot of work. Exhausting, actually.
It's substantial. Think about it. It's project management, it's emotional regulation, and physical exertion all rolled into one. When you are managing someone else's intense physical experience, you aren't just having sex.
You're building an arc.
You are, like a narrative arc, exactly. You have to build arousal. You have to manage the intensity. You have to make these split-second decisions. Do I withhold here? Do I push harder here? Is this gasp pleasure or is it panic?
And you have to know the difference.
You have to know the difference between what a sub thinks they want and what their body actually needs in that moment.
Sure.
It requires a level of empathy that goes way beyond I'm the boss.
The source calls it physical attunement.
Yes, it's about reading the room, but on a micro level. A real dominant is watching the partner's chest rise and fall. They're monitoring muscle tension.
The article mentioned reading the specific quality of a moan, which sounds almost poetic, but it's actually it's data.
It is data. Is that a moan of release or a moan of distress? If you can't tell the difference, you have no business holding the reins. Because dominance isn't permission to do whatever you want. It is taking responsibility for someone else's safety.
And that responsibility starts way before the clothes come on.
Oh, way before. This is the pre-scene labor the article talks about. And it's the part the app version of a dom skips entirely because, talking logistics isn't sexy to them.
But to a submissive, that conversation is incredibly sexy.
It's the sexiest thing because it signals safety. A real dominant engages in extensive, explicit negotiation. Boundaries, safe words, check-in protocols, they're thinking through exit strategies.
Exit strategies, like in case of a fire.
In case of anything, what happens if someone panics? What happens if equipment fails? What happens if the emotional intensity triggers a traumatic memory you didn't know was there? A competent dominant has a plan for all of that.
It's the difference between operating on vibes versus operating on protocols.
And vibes get people hurt. Protocols keep people safe. This also gets into the psychology of it, because the source says a real dom needs a lot of self-knowledge. It's not just skills. It's about motive.
Why are you even doing this?
Exactly. To do this ethically, you have to understand why you want to dominate. Is it because you enjoy service? Or, and this is the danger zone, is it because you have unprocessed trauma or a need to manipulate?
Are you doing this for them, or are you feeding something dark in yourself?
You have to know the difference between consensual power exchange and just being a manipulator. And that requires doing your own work, which, let's be honest, is not something you can tell from a bio that says 6'2", love travel, pleasure dom.
Speaking of bios, let's get practical. The article gives this brutal list of red flags, things that basically scream, I have no idea what I'm doing. I want to run through these because I feel like I've seen them all.
Let's do it.
Okay, red flag number 1. I'm a pleasure dom who loves to please.
Classic. The costume phrase. It sounds nice, right? But it contains zero actual information. It's fluff. It's marketing. It's like a restaurant sign that just says, we serve food.
We have tasty food.
Okay.
Okay, next one. This is a big one. I'll make it all about you.
Again, it's a declaration, not a demonstration. Real dominance is shown through competence and communication before you even meet. If someone has to announce it, they're usually trying to sell you something.
It feels like a way to get you to lower your defenses.
Exactly. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. It's condescending, not caring.
Okay, what about this one? Because it's confusing. Daddy dom looking for his little.
This one is so tricky because daddy little is a legitimate dynamic, but on apps, it's often deeply problematic. Daddy dom implies care, structure, containment. But a lot of guys using this label just want the honorific.
They just want to be called daddy.
They want the ego boost. They want the title without the job. They want a partner who acts like a little submissive, compliant, but they don't want to do the actual work of being the daddy.
So they want a child's obedience without the parent's responsibility.
Precisely. And the biggest warning sign of all is when they're vague about negotiation. If you try to discuss boundaries and they say, we'll just flow with it.
Run
Fast. If they can't discuss negotiation explicitly, they are performing, not practicing. And of course, the absence of aftercare, if you ask them about it and they look confused, they're disqualified, period.
Let's dig into the technical side for a second.
Yeah.
The source mentions 2 acronyms that seem to be the gold standard. SSC and RACK.
Right. These are the ethical frameworks that keep people safe. If you don't know them, you shouldn't be playing.
Okay, so broke them down. What is SSC?
SSC stands for safe, sane, consensual. It's the older framework. It emphasizes that activities should be physically safe, no permanent damage done by people of sound mind, and fully consensual. It's the seatbelt of BDSM.
Safe, sane, consensual. Seems pretty straightforward. Why do we need another one? What's RACK?
Well, the community evolved and realized SSC was a bit limiting. What's safe? Is choking safe? Medically, no. It carries risk. So RACK emerged. It stands for risk-aware consensual kink.
So it acknowledges the danger as part of it.
Exactly. It treats BDSM more like extreme sports. Skydiving isn't safe, but you can do it with risk awareness. RACK means all parties understand the specific risks, they accept them, and you're mitigating them as much as possible.
So one is about safety and the other is about informed risk management.
Precisely. But here's the key. Both frameworks rely entirely on negotiation. You can't have informed risk if you haven't talked about it. The fake dom operating on vibes is bypassing the very things that make this permissible.
So how did we get here? How did we end up in a world where everyone claims to be a dom but nobody knows the rules?
It's a 50 Shades effect, just amplified by TikTok. Pop culture brought these terms into the mainstream, which in some ways is good. It destigmatizes things, but the terms traveled without the context.
It's like buying a complicated machine but throwing out the manual.
Or the driver's license. In the actual BDSM community, there are gatekeeping mechanisms. There are things called munches.
Munches. That sounds unintimidating.
That's the point. It's a social gathering at a diner or a pub. You meet people with their clothes on. You talk. It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
But it's crucial. Because you have elders, you have people who have been doing this for 20 years watching out for the newbies.
There's accountability.
There's an accountability system. If you're a jerk, people talk. But on an app, you're an island. There are no credentials. Anyone can type Dom in their bio. You're totally bypassing that community filter.
And what's the deeper motivation here? Why this label?
It's about identity. Pleasure Dom sounds sophisticated, intentional. The article notes it sounds a lot better than admitting, I don't really know what I want, or I'm looking for a meaningful connection, which might feel vulnerable.
Right. I'm a dom sounds like you have a plan. I'm lonely sounds like, well, you're lonely.
It's a shield, a shiny leather-clad shield. But it's a shield that causes real damage.
That's where I want to go next. Because we can laugh about the profiles, but the source makes it very clear. This incompetence causes real harm. Specifically to women exploring submission.
It's a serious issue. When a woman identifies as submissive or even just curious, she is offering vulnerability. She trusts the label. She assumes that if a man calls himself a dom, he knows how to hold that space safely.
And when he doesn't?
When he fumbles through it, he isn't just being annoying, he is mishandling her nervous system.
Let's talk about the biology of that, the neurochemistry. Because I don't think people get how chemical this is.
It's incredibly chemical. When you engage in intense play pain, restraint, power exchange, the body releases a flood of endorphins, adrenaline, oxytocin. It's a massive high. You are in an altered state.
And what goes up must come down.
Always. And that is where subdrop comes in. The drop is the physiological crash as those chemicals leave your system. It can happen immediately or the next day. You can feel depressed, anxious, shaky. It's like withdrawal.
And this is where aftercare comes in.
Yes. Aftercare isn't just cuddling because it's nice. It is a physiological necessity. It's the process of bringing someone down safely from that high. You need to be held, reassured, given water, sugar, warmth.
And if the guy just zips up and checks his phone?
You crash hard. Without aftercare, that arousal turns into anxiety. That vulnerability becomes raw exposure. You feel used and dysregulated. It's a genuinely distressing emotional hangover that can last for days.
And the fakedom?
The fakedom finishes, feels satisfied, maybe calls an Uber, and leaves. He thinks he did a great job. He has no idea he just left a grenade in her nervous system.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
And the article points out this tragic cycle where women experience this and think, oh, I guess I just hate submission.
Right. They think BDSM makes me feel terrible when actually they just dislike unskilled, selfish partners. The fake dumb poisons the well for everyone.
Okay, so for everyone listening who might be navigating these spaces, let's give them the filter. How do you spot the real thing? The article has some very actionable advice.
The first filter is the conversation. Real dominants ask questions first. They don't just announce their status. They want to know your limits, your interests, your history. They're gathering data.
So if they talk about themselves more than you, red flag.
Huge red flag. And specifically, ask about aftercare. Don't wait. Just ask, what does aftercare look like for now?
And what's a good answer?
You want specifics, not just, oh, we can cuddle for a bit. You want someone who says, I usually have water nearby, a warm blanket, and I stay for at least 30 minutes to make sure you're grounded.
Very different vibe.
Very. Also, ask about negotiation frameworks. Ask them, do you use SSC or RACK?
And if they say, what's that?
Then you say goodbye. Confusion here is disqualifying.
Another one is watching for ego.
This is subtle, but so important. Real dominants welcome questions. They know safety requires clarity. If you ask a question and they get defensive or fragile or say, don't you trust me?
Oh, that's a big one.
Walk away. Real dominance is secure. Fake dominance is fragile. Trust is earned, not demanded.
And finally, specifics versus generalities.
Right. Real doms describe specific dynamics. I enjoy this type of scene. Fake doms use vague marketing language. I'll take you to new heights. I'll blow your mind.
I'll take you to new heights. Sounds like an airline slogan, not a safety
It
protocol.
really does. It's a brochure, not a plan.
So to wrap this all up, the article's thesis is pretty damning. Every guy on field is a pleasure dom. Almost none of them are dominants.
It's a call for education, really. The solution isn't to gatekeep the terms so tightly that no one can use them, but we have to insist that people using them understand the weight of the words.
It's about restoring the link between the label and the labor.
That's it. If you want the title, do the work, learn the skills, understand the ethics. Because these aren't just cool words for your bio to make you sound edgy, they are descriptions of how you treat other human beings.
It really makes you think about how we present ourselves online in general, doesn't it? In 2026, we have a label for everything. We curate these avatars of who we want to be, sigma, alpha, pleasure dom, but labels are easy. Competence is hard.
And maybe that's the question to leave everyone with. In a world where you can be anything in a digital profile, how many of us are just wearing labels for the aesthetic? And what is the cost to the people who trust those labels, only to find out there is nothing behind the curtain?
That is a heavy thought to end on, but an important one. If you are swiping today, stay safe, ask the hard questions, and maybe ask about aftercare before you ask about dinner. Thanks for diving in with us.
Take care.